Have you ever felt this in your organization? A huge push for a new initiative, a lot of energy and excitement, only to be followed by a slow, silent fade into the background. Then 6 months later, a new big push for a new initiative comes forward. And with each new cycle, you see a little bit less enthusiasm and a little bit more rolling of the eyes. This isn't just a feeling. It's called change fatigue, and it's one of the most destructive forces in any organization. Change fatigue burns out your best people and it kills momentum. This repeated cycle of starting, stalling, restarting happens because most leaders treat strategy like a series of sprints. But what they forget is that our team and our organizations are in a marathon. The cost is immense. You never build on your successes, you exhaust your team's goodwill, and you create a culture that's resistant to the very change that you are trying to drive. But what if we could break this cycle? What if you could turn change from a crisis to a core competency? There's a natural life cycle to any strategy, and today I want to show that to you. It's a predictable pattern of rise and fall. More importantly, I'm going to show you how to manage it so that you can create sustained long-term performance and leave change fatigue in the dust. This is the strategic performance cycle. It maps the momentum of any plan or organization over time, and it moves through 3 distinct phases: revolution, evolution, and devolution. To break this down, we're actually going to start at the end with devolution, or what I like to call the complacent fall. The good news is this typically happens after a period of success. The plan is working, things are good, and complacency sets in. The strategies that got you there have become routine, and the organization is no longer making the intentional choices it needs to make to win. Without proactive intervention, this always leads to decline. This is the silent killer of great strategy. When you recognize that you're in this state of decline, you need to initiate a revolution, or what I also call the necessary dip. This is an initial disruptive effort to break us from that fall, acknowledging the necessary dip that is to follow. And this is key. A revolution always causes a painful but necessary dip in performance as old ways are abandoned and new ways are adopted. Many leaders panic here. They see or they feel the dip and they think the plan is failing. But this dip is not failure. It's simply the cost of change. Because if you push through that dip, you enter the next phase, evolution, or what I call the triumphant climb. This is where new strategy takes hold and the organization thrives. This is ideally a period of sustained progress and growth, and it's the phase in which we want to live the longest. So you have this natural cycle where success leads to the inevitable devolution, which requires a revolution, which leads to a new period of evolution. The problem is, if you let this cycle happen to you, you end up with that chaotic, exhausting ride that we talked about in the beginning. But great leaders don't just ride the wave, they learn how to master it. They turn this predictable pattern into a process of continuous renewal. And here's how. First, your goal in the revolution phase is to minimize the dip. With strong leadership and great communication, this dip can be reduced in both severity and duration. So you can cross this valley of despair in as short a time as possible. Second, during the evolution phase, your job is to extend the momentum. Instead of just letting your success plateau, a great strategic system aims to extend this period of continuous improvement for as long as possible. This is your most sustainable and high-impact period, so we want to be sure to maximize it. And third, and this is key to mastering this cycle, is to learn to catch the fall. Rather than waiting for a devolution to cause significant damage, a great strategic leader looks for that first sign of a plateau and is able to identify it, and proactively initiates that next strategic revolution. A great leader catches that decline before it ever gains momentum. When you do this, you create a really powerful staircase effect. You launch your next revolution from a position of relative strength, not from a deep trough of a failure. Each cycle builds on the success of the last, creating a pattern of continuous growth. So this is how you build change competency in your organization. Each cycle makes you better at this process of change itself, so that each revolution becomes less painful and more efficient. So if you feel like you and your team are stuck in this cycle of boom and bust, chances are you're letting this cycle manage you. By understanding these phases of revolution, evolution, and devolution, you can start to manage it proactively. Minimize the dip, extend the climb, and most importantly, catch the fall before it even happens. That's how you shift from a culture of change fatigue to a culture of continuous renewal and lasting success. Mastering this cycle requires a system for measuring your progress and a rhythm for checking in on your plan. And to see how this strategic performance cycle fits into our broader CityY framework, go to cityy.com and download our free paper. This is the first step of taking control of your strategic momentum. If you found this valuable and want us to continue to create this kind of content, like, comment, or subscribe. That really helps the channel and helps us grow. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.